All right, guys. I did a video yesterday on that Governor Gavin Newsom signing that bill. Here's Sheriff Chad Blanco explaining the bill. Check it out.
All right, Sheriff, you've been very vocal about seizing these ballots, saying there was fraud involved, and today the governor's office has done something about it, passing some legislation there to in direct response to what you have done. So tell us about your reaction to Newsom's signed Senate Bill 73, which limits the changes on how law enforcement can access voting ballots.
Yeah. How corrupt are we going to allow state government to be? How corrupt are we going to allow a governor and a legislature to be that they are now passing laws to stop people from finding fraud, to stop people from investigating election fraud? This is the most crazy thing I have ever seen. And I hope every single person in California is paying attention, because if you can't see that it's time to get these people out of office that are there for themselves, that are there to manipulate the system, that are there to cheat us, that are there to defraud us, we are going to be lost in California. Because this is so obvious now. It's almost to the point where it's comical. It's like we're being punked. Ashton Kutcher is not going to run out and tell us that we're all being punked. We're being punked by our own state government, the people that are putting us there. This is absolutely crazy. This election case that we were doing is nothing more than any other type of a fraud case. It is completely obvious that the Registrar of Voters in Riverside County has a number of ballots that were turned in, 611,000. How in the world does 658,000 votes get spit out of those machines when you throw 611,000 in? And a judge agreed. So all we were going to do.
You called this
go ahead.
The seizure of these ballots a fact-finding mission. What has your investigation found? Because the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, has found that there was no impropriety here.
Rob Bonta is an absolute liar. And I'm sorry, I love both of you, but don't repeat that and act like that's true. That is not even close to true. Rob Bonta filed a lawsuit solely to exercise authority over a sheriff that he doesn't have. His lawsuit has nothing to do with these ballots. He told me to stop a lawful investigation, and I said, no, you don't have the authority to do that. And he took it to court, and now we have to argue that case. This isn't about a lawful case. And what Newsom just signed into law proves that what I did is exactly lawful and should have been done. And now they are trying to prevent it from happening in the future. Why would they have passed that law if what I did wasn't legal? They're trying to make it unlawful for any law enforcement officer to do that. We are being manipulated and we are being lied to. Rob Bonta is an absolute embarrassment to law enforcement, and we better start seeing this in our state, or we are in big, big trouble, especially 5 days away from an election.
Sheriff, I'll tell you, as voters, when you hear that there's an investigation, you worry about the confidence when it comes to elections, right? So do you have any concerns that this could deepen mistrust?
Yeah, I absolutely do. What everyone should be concerned of is there's an investigation to make sure we don't have election fraud, and you have an attorney general that's stopping that investigation. Why would he not want those ballots counted? Why would not any rational person want those ballots counted to make sure that there is no election fraud? Because that's a major discrepancy. 46,000 votes discrepancy is massive. Why would we not want to find out why? But apparently you have a Secretary of State, a governor, and an attorney general who don't want those counted. So that is what is showing the mistrust in the election system. That is showing all of the disgruntled, the disenfranchised Californians that the system's manipulated, that politicians are lying to us, cheating, and stealing our state. That's what it's proving. And we have to get back to the realization that we have to make sure that our elections are secure. We must have secure elections if we're going to maintain the integrity of our country and our state.
Okay, then at what point would you consider the investigation closed?
We're going to count those ballots, and we're going to find out how many there are. If there are 656,000, then the investigation's closed. But if there's 611,000 and there's 658,000 yes and no votes, we have a massive, massive problem that we have to get to the bottom of and find out why. Is it the machines? Is it people? Is it ballots being run through twice? Was it the machines counting different than what it should have counted with paper going through it? We won't know until this investigation is done, and you have politicians disingenuous, dishonest, fraudulent politicians trying to stop it from happening.
You talk about mistrust and also representing the totality of California if you were elected governor, but you have called on ending California as a sanctuary state. What do you say to
All right, guys, there you have it. He explained the fraud bill that he signed yesterday. That I told you guys, it's all about hiding the fraud. That's what Gavin Newsom does. The Democrats here in this state, that's all they want to do is let illegals vote and hide the stuff that they're doing. That's why he passed that law yesterday. I did a breakdown on it yesterday. You guys can hear in those people's voices when they were talking about how they want illegals to vote. But let me know what you guys think about that on what Chad Bianco said. Um, put it in the comments. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Please hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.